number 7, one Lima uniform on final approach with the runway in sight. Be advised, we have the new head coach on board.
Please welcome head coach Jamie Chadwell.
We're going to develop young people that are going to give their best for each other on the field. They're going to give their best for each other off the field. They're going to serve each other. That's important to me, that we are the standard in everything that we do. To have the opportunity to take this football program to the next level in Conference USA, to compete for conference championships, start in 2024 to start competing for the CFP. We're going to continue to build this program where it's the premier program in G5.
I think this is a home run hire for Liberty. You've already seen at Liberty's be able to beat SEC teams, be able to beat ACC teams.
That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to hoist a trophy. We want to win the Conference USA Championship. Ultimately, we want to be in the college football playoff. I'm laying that out there. That's what we want to do.
We're able to league in for an opportunity to win a conference championship. But what's on the backside of that chain right there is still the work that needs to come. Y'all look down at the stadium right here. That's why I love this place. Right there. That's a special place. You have 7 opportunities to protect that place. If you handle your business and you play on a high level, you're going to lift up this town, fellas. If we stay strong, nothing can tear us apart, fellas. Somebody in the eye and say, man, I'm playing for you today. I'm playing for you. I'm leaving myself aside. I'm playing for you today.
It's Flames Central Game Day, presented by Earthright Mid-Atlantic, solar and energy efficiency. Welcome inside Williams Stadium. Rhett McGibbon here alongside Pat Kelly, Joe Yock, a couple of great wide receivers. Pat with the Liberty Flames, Joe, UNC, and in the CFL, Edmonton Eskimos. A lot warmer down here.
A little bit warmer here today. I'm going to tell you what, though, Rhett McGibbon.
Tell me.
That intro, I'm so fired up by that intro. I would put Rhett McGibbon on my back and carry him up the side of that mountain right now.
Yeah. I don't get goosebumps. I don't get goosebumps very often, but I got him for that one. Absolutely fantastic. So much great stuff on the show today. Jonathan Isaac of the Orlando Magic will be joining us shortly just to talk about the Flames and the college experience. So much more. We're going to hear from head coach Jamie Chadwell. We'll also have our Segra Impact players as well. So a lot of fun to be on the show today. First off, though, Conference USA, the Flames' first year in it. It's been talked about a lot, right? We don't have to dive too deep into it, but the one thing I want to ask both of you is that you both played for conference championships. How big is that now for the players to look forward to?
Well, it's huge, but it's also different, you know. So you have games where you're playing the Syracuse high level, you're playing NC State, you're playing Virginia Tech, you're playing all these different like high level schools, and then you go into a conference. But at the end, the only thing you're playing before is for the bowl game, right? So you're just trying to get to that bowl game. But now you have an opportunity to play for that conference championship. So you got to go not just to 6 wins, you got to go an entire season to get to that conference championship so you can hoist that trophy one day.
Yeah, Joe kind of said it. You're able to, when you're independent, you can play kind of whoever you want. I always call it the Notre Dame model. My wife went to Notre Dame. So I loved that you could play the NC States. You could reach out and you could play the Virginia Techs. But Joe mentioned it again. You can develop those rivalries, which I think also comes with recruiting advantages. You can develop kind of that recruiting pipeline. So I think there's tremendous benefit to be gained from now being in a conference.
Pat, let me ask you this, though. Is a conference crown a needed carrot? Because we've seen Liberty in the past few seasons. Towards the end of the year, once you get win 6 and you're bowl eligible, it started to falter a little bit, like a loss last year to Virginia Tech. You know, UConn comes to mind as well. Those are losses that you really believe that Liberty program could have not had to put a dub on the board. Is this needed to keep focus in place towards the end of the year?
Well, Rhett, some might say that your head coach should stay pretty plugged in so that your team doesn't lose focus, but I don't know.
I knew you'd have to throw that one out there, Pat. Outstanding job.
I like it.
But Rhett, to your point, I don't think it's a needed care, but I certainly think that it is kind of it's a benefit, but it doesn't. It's not something that has to take place.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to be able to train your kids up, train the players up, the coaches, to stay engaged all the way to the very end. So to be able to chase that conference championship will help them all be able to do that.
All right, while we're on topic, let's take a look here at the Conference USA preseason poll. WKU picked first, Liberty second. Is there a dark horse in this mix that you like, Joe?
I tell you what, I'm liking that 7th spot with Jacksonville State, because you look back at Liberty, a team that went from the FCS to the FBS and became bowl eligible in their very first year. That is a talented Jacksonville State team, and they were going into their first year in the FBS, could have a really good season. So don't be surprised if they jump up.
Yeah, impressive win over UTEP the other night for them.
For sure. Red, I'm looking at number 3 there, Middle Tennessee State. This is a group that returns. They have the Conference USA ranked number 1 D-line, linebacker, and secondary group. So I think it's a defense that is strong. They return 8 guys. TBD on their offense, but I think that could be my dark horse.
When you look at the conference, though, some pretty talented quarterbacks in the mix. You have Austin Reed, WKU. This is a guy that's getting some NFL draft chatter for 2024. You also have Hank Bachmeier, Louisiana Tech. He transferred in from Boise State. This guy has 41 career touchdowns, so he can sling it.
Yeah, the thing in this day and age, 2023 football, is where they spread you out. There are some really good quarterbacks out there. It's hard to stop teams defensively that spread you out like that. So you're starting to see, and it's exciting for college football, you start to see some big offensive numbers because of all the good quarterbacks in really good systems.
All right, Bowling Green, obviously the opponent today. They are in the MAC East Division. We look at their preseason poll. Bowling Green in the middle of the pack. Ohio and Miami of Ohio, 1 and 2.
Yeah, Miami did their best job last night to not show that they were the true Miami, getting absolutely steamrolled by the Miami Hurricanes. That's the only benefit, or that's the only thing I'm adding to this segment here.
Yeah, I mean, the team that I look at in that is, and who Liberty played, is Akron. That team in the 5 spot, yeah, the Zips. Yeah. I tell you what, you say about spreading people out and you know, doing all the fluff and flair and stuff now of modern day football. Those guys, they got some big backs, and they get downhill, and they like to run the football.
I know that the Falcons have yet to play a game, but do you see them finishing at 4, higher or lower?
Yeah, I mean, that's a TBD right there. Is that, you know, you look at them going to a bowl game last year, but they had a hard time running the football, and I think they're going to have a major emphasis on that this year. So they could potentially be a sleeper team.
We'll circle back on that one.
Circle back.
Okay, I like it. All right, scouting report time brought to us by Century Exteriors. Both these teams last year, not offensive juggernauts by any means. Liberty, under Hugh Freeze, expecting, hey, big offensive game, not the case. They really relied on their defense to win games. When you look at these numbers between points per game and the rushing yards, total touchdowns, what needs to be altered and go up?
Well, the bottom line is this, is that during the Hugh Freeze year, as much of a good offensive coach that Coach Freeze was, it was the defense that carried him.
I mean,
Josh Aldridge led defense, Jack Curtis, they did a great job in keeping them in games and helping them win football games. But the bottom line is this, they brought Jamie Chadwell in here not because of great defense. They brought him in here because of his explosive offense. So I think what you're going to see as this thing develops, it's going to take time. They're not going to come out slinging it and seeing this run as a finely tuned operation right away. It's going to take time for this offense to get going, but once it gets going, they're going to score a lot of points.
Pat, when you look at this Falcons team, obviously they have Adu Hilaire. We'll talk about more him in just a little bit. But the tight ends on this team, when they get passing the ball, right, they're pretty dangerous. Like, they can spread it around. Last year, this team threw it a ton.
Yeah, it's a team last year that threw for about 250 yards a game, and they kind of had to because they only averaged 3 yards per carry. And for those watching at home, let me tell you, that's not good. That's not good at all. Fortunately, they do return a guy this year who sat out last year, who on his career averages 6 yards per carry, but you can't lean on the passing game all the time because the defenses are just going to pin their ears back and be able to come after you.
They also lost their big target. He transferred to Arkansas, and so Adu Hilaire is going to have a lot of pressure on his shoulders. But again, we talked about the running game. It's going to have to be better. Offensive line for this group is going to have to be better as well. For Liberty, you talked about it. Offense is going to be completely different this year. And, you know, I would say some people said last year a bit more of a simple offensive scheme this year. You're getting a little bit more complex. what are some aspects this Liberty team needs to do well right off the bat? Because at ground level, obviously the offense is going to get more complex with time and more aspects are going to be brought in. But what do you want to see from day one today?
Yeah, I think good decision making by the quarterback. I mean, that's what this comes down to in this offense is the ability for the quarterback. It's a heavy RPO offense, so for the ability of the quarterback to be able to make the right reads, if they can make the right reads and not turn over the football, that's what's going to build confidence in this offense and allow them to score a lot of points.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. The starting quarterback is yet to be determined. They say we will see an all-new running back core for this team as well. So obviously, it's going to be a lot of new faces today for the Flames. They're going to have to make some noise. Let's take a look here at the series history between these two teams. They had met once before, back in 2003. I know, right? Look at that score. Not a good one.
Do we really want to take a look at that?
Yeah, I don't know if you do. Omar Jacobs threw a touchdown on the day. P.J. Pope, 163 yards on the ground for a touchdown. Cole Magner caught 2 touchdowns for the Falcons as they absolutely throttled the Flames on that day back in 2003, and it was the year after Urban Meyer left the program.
Well, right. One thing I'd call out here, shout out to the kicker, Scott Kiofsky, for making that 27-yard field goal.
Voice the shout out. Get that off the screen. I mean, come on, that thing's still hanging out there.
Well, hey, thrilled to be joined now by Jonathan Isaac of the Orlando Magic. Jonathan, thanks for joining us. How long has it been since you've been to a college football game?
It's been since my time in Florida State. So
in Florida State,
5, 6 years now.
Yeah, that's crazy. Florida State expected to be really good this year too.
Awesome.
Yeah,
looking forward to it.
Well, hey, let's dive into this. Obviously, these guys hyped up, ready to go, excited for a new season. For yourself as a professional athlete, NBA season's right around the corner, right? What's the emotions on a day like this? Home opener. It's the first time you get to go at it with your team.
Yeah, it's just super focused. You want to get it right. On the first one out, everybody's excited. The student body's super excited. Everybody's kind of on edge. They want to win. And so I know that energy is going to come out really, really tough to start. And, let's get a win.
You know, Jonathan, I saw you standing over there, and I don't really want to tell you this, but Pat Kelly leaned over to me, whispered in my ear, and he said, I would post that guy up all day long. Give me something hard.
Not a chance.
He has a deadly pump fake that you better watch out for.
No, if you want some tips, let me know. We can get in the gym.
We'll talk.
You know, Jonathan, I know you battled some injuries, and we've had Liberty's had a couple. Jonathan Bennett is a perfect example of that.
C.J. Daniels,
Daniels as well. Have suffered through some injuries. Talk to us a little bit about what it takes to have the persistence and perseverance of overcoming injuries and how to succeed.
Yeah, it's extremely difficult, and difficult on everybody. It's difficult for the fans. They don't really understand what's going on. I've had my fair share of injuries, like you said, and the monotonous of every day, putting in the work, only seeing incremental, kind of growth from day to day. It takes heart. It takes grit. You learn some things about yourself, and you just persevere, and you find ways to stay mentally sharp. For me, it's the Word of God. I try my best to stay focused and locked in, and I just keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Yeah, for yourself as a believer in Christ, too, obviously yourself has battled injury, but I'm sure teammates have as well. How do you pour into them through that?
Well, I think you learn how to identify. I think one of the reasons why we go through our own trials is to be able to identify with other people around us. And so I can identify with somebody walking through injury and let them know that you can come out on the other side and you can keep your mind right and just show love in the moment.
For these guys, new coaching staff in place for LU this year, and you're kind of getting used to a new boss, right? Have you ever experienced that? And what is it like in the offseason knowing, okay, there's a new guy in charge, and I want to get on the right side of him?
Yeah, it's tough. I think it can be a blessing and a curse because everybody wants to be on point. All the players want to be sharp. You got a new coach coming in. Everybody comes with a new focus, but at the same time, it's hard. Guys got to get acquainted. Coaching staff has to overhaul some things about the way that they want to run their program. And so I think if it's done correctly, it can be kind of easy going from out the gate, but it does take a learning curve. For sure.
Well, before we let you go, let's do our game picks. That's why we got you on here for your expertise.
We're going to celebrity pick.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to start with Joe Yock, though. Joe, what do you have going on for us here in this game today?
I think that it's going to be a little bit of a slugfest, but I'm going to go ahead. We're going to fan them Flames for a 24-21 victory by Liberty Flames.
All right, Pat?
So I'm leaning not so much a slugfest. We've talked all about this Jamie Chadwell offense. I'd like to see some explosion. I'd like to see some fireworks on the scoreboard today. I'm going Liberty wins this one 30-20.
You're going a little bit more fire like that stash, right?
Hey,
straight fire.
These mustaches don't grow on trees, all right? It takes
That's
work.
right. All right, and Jonathan here, you're going a bit more high-scoring offense. You want the fans to enjoy themselves today.
Yes, I want the offense to get out running. You know, sometimes it's like an all-star game a little bit.
Yes.
Not much defense being played, but I want us to play some defense, but I want to see us get down the field and kind of turn the thing over time and time again.
I'm not sure the coaches would like that, but Flames Nation would surely enjoy it. It was great to have you at Convocation yesterday. Obviously, you can check that out at watch.liberty.edu. Go back and see his speech yesterday to the Liberty student body. Well, you've heard us talk about the new Liberty coaching staff. Matt Warner caught up with him just a few minutes ago.
Coach, first game as head coach of Liberty Flames. How are the nerves right now? How are you feeling heading into this?
Yeah, we're a little nervous right now. Got some butterflies, but I know our team's ready and excited about running out of the gates there into Williams for the first time, and looking forward to seeing how our team competes.
The keys for you guys getting off to a strong start offensively, what do you feel like those are?
We've got to just win first down. If we can win first down and put ourselves in manageable second and third downs, and I like our chances. That's the biggest key for us offensively, and then when we have the chances to make big plays, we got to make them.
Last thing, you want to tell us who's starting at quarterback for you?
Starts at noon. So.
Had to try. Appreciate it, Coach. Good luck. Yep. Good luck, Coach.
Quarterback position is going to be a mystery until 12 o'clock. We have our thoughts and feelings, but we'll get into that a bit more. We've talked a lot about Jamie Chadwell and what he brings, but let's look at the entire coaching staff now. Obviously, Coach Chadwell is a guy that knows how to win. When you go back and look at him at Charleston Southern, they used to play against LU, he had some big wins at the stadium against the Flames. And day one, I would say this is a guy that really established his culture. You look at his resume, he has set the tone for what he expects from this group moving forward.
Yeah, no doubt about that, Red. I think the fact that he's a 2020 AP Coach of the Year speaks enough for itself. When you look back at his career, though, 7 of his 13 coaching seasons, he's won 9 games or more. 5 of those 13 seasons, he's won 10 games or more. So, I mean, he certainly has that proven track record.
Yeah, but you know what, though, guys? You got to be careful this one, because look at Jamie's had a little bit of a struggle. He's had a little bit of a struggle in his first season. So now the situation, he's taking over some other programs that didn't have the talent that Liberty has, right? But he struggled through his first season, because part of this is this offense is unique and it's different, and it takes time to learn it. But I will say this. Be hopeful, Flames Nation, because he does have the level talent players here in order to have success early.
Yeah, for sure. Joe, why don't you walk us through the OCs, Willie Korn and Newland Isaac?
Yeah, I mean, Willie Korn, the good thing is, once again, is that you've got coaches that have been in his system for a long time. Willie Korn has been with Jamie for a long time, and so he understands the uniqueness of the system. He's an outstanding quarterback coach. He understands the run game very well, along with Newland Isaac, who is a great recruiter and the ability to coach and offensive coordinate within the run game. So when you look at those two guys paired together, they do a really good job. And, obviously the proof's in the pudding, and you look at what Coastal's done from a scoring standpoint. So those are it's just a really gelled, well together offensive staff.
Now, Skylar McGee on the defensive side of the ball, he inherits a very adept Liberty defensive unit. Yeah,
the thing with Skylar's going to be working alongside Kyle Krantz. Kyle Krantz is coaching outside linebackers also, so those two are going to really share the co-defensive coordinator positions, and so they're going to bring in a little bit of different. You're not going to see a lot of the same stuff that they did at Coastal from a defensive side. You're going to see some things that they haven't done before here at Liberty, and what I've had the opportunity to talk to Kyle and both Skylar at length, and so what they are doing, if done correctly, gives this defense the opportunity to be very clear, very concise in what they're doing, fly around to the football, and create turnovers. So much of defense is about creating turnovers, and I think you're going to have the chance to see that from this Liberty defense.
Pat, is there one of those coaches you look at and you're like, I think this guy might have a secret sauce to really do some special things here?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Willie Korn, just breaking it down by the numbers, you saw that stat that they were in 2021. They were number 6 in the nation in rushing yards per game. They averaged 230 rushing yards on the ground that season. The year before that, 218 yards. So I think he's got maybe some secret sauce. Proof is in the pudding for sure, because Coastal's quarterback for the last 3 years, Grayson McCall, won the Sun Belt Conference Player of the Year each of those 3 years. So they're doing something right.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that Liberty coaching staff obviously getting ready for today's game. Scott Leffler on the other side. He's been keeping things quiet as well. And I know the spread says, hey, this is going to be a big win for LU. Me personally, not so fast. I think it's going to be a pretty tight game. Our Matt Warner caught up with Coach Leffler earlier today.
Well, Coach, I know running the football has been a point of emphasis for you guys heading into the season. How important is it for you guys to find early success on the ground, get some confidence here today?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. There's a lot of unknown in this game. There's 50 some odd new players for Liberty and 35 players for us. So I think that's the world of college football right now, particularly at this level, and it's going to be interesting to see how we handle the ups and downs of this game.
You talk about the unknowns. Do you feel like you have to make adjustments more quickly in a game like this than you would typically?
Yeah, I think Coach's offense is great, and you know, he's going to do what he does, but you know, defensively it was kind of an unknown for us coming into this. We watched a bunch of Coastal Carolina tape, but who knows? So the good thing is that when we play our defense, we see every look known to man. So we'll adapt and adjust and see what happens.
Last thing, just like Liberty, you guys haven't announced a starting quarterback yet. You just want to do it now?
No.
Had to try, Coach. Good luck. Appreciate the time.
All right, take it easy.
Like Matt Warner getting a laugh at him, keeping it loose, right?
I love it.
All right, let's look now at our Segra impact players. I always want to hear Segra. You know, you get the Segra. You know what I'm talking about. But Odu Hilaire, this young man, we talked about him earlier today, and also Brock Horn. Odu is a special talent.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about that. This is a guy that last year against Toledo had 240 receiving yards in a game. I mean, this is a guy very proven, very explosive, so he's going to be fun to watch on the offensive side of the ball.
And this is what it comes down to for Bowling Green. If they can run the football decently, and they can bring that extra man down in the box, this is the kind of player that can win a game on his own. You look at what he did in the Marshall football game, he can win this thing by himself.
Here's Hilaire right now, and again, he doesn't have the protection that he did last year, perhaps going up against the second best cornerback on a team, but you look here against EKU, like this is an overtime and a couple of great fades.
Yeah, this guy, he runs every route possible. He catch a ball underneath, he can take shots downfield with them, and like I said, if they can run that ball just a little bit, be able to pick 4, but get more than 3 yards to carry, be able to pick 4 or 5 yards to carry, they can take some shots over the top with him.
And then when we move on here, Brock Horn, this guy, he's a man. Like, that's how I want to put it. He's a man, and when you know you got a couple men there behind you on the, behind the D-line that can do a little run stopping for you, like, look at some of the tackles this guy's bringing in. He's got some beef.
Brock Horn is a guy that, when I hear that name, I think of like a professional wrestler.
Yeah.
I'm watching his highlights here, and it feels like it's kind of confirmed. This guy lowers the boom, will stick his nose in there and make some plays.
You know, one of the beautiful things about this Jamie Chadwell offense is this. They find who is the best defensive player on the D-line, outside linebacker, inside line, and they isolate that person in the RPO game. That way it takes a lot of their aggressiveness away from them. So they always want to be able to find, where is that one guy? And then that's a guy that we isolate. I'm talking to Willie Korn. They feel as if they can isolate their best linebacker and then make him be indecisive in his to take him out of the game.
Interesting. Good insight there, Joe. As we look at the Flames now, CJ Daniels, he's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Quentin Reese as well has really had to step up with graduation, players moving on. And we're also going to talk about Elijah Smoot here. He's a name that's getting a lot of talk through camp. CJ Daniels, I kind of want, you mind if I jump into this a little bit? In 2021, you could argue that he was basically step for step with Demario Douglas, now a New England Patriot, and looking like he's doing great things in preseasons. But here's the numbers, all right? CJ Daniels, 2021, 7 touchdowns, 629 yards receiving. That same year, Demario Douglas, 6 touchdowns, 701 yards. Unfortunately, the injury bug bit him. Hopefully, he can get healthy this season.
Yeah, there's got to be a guy in this receiving corps, because when you look at last year, the numbers that Demario Douglas put up, it was 70-plus catches, and then the next guy's down in the 30s, right? So now there's going to have to be a number one guy to really step up, but I think within this offense, they're going to have to do a really good job of potentially, is it Noah Fritz? Is it CJ Daniels? Whoever that number one guy is, but they got to even out the receptions more often to be able to spread it around the field. But CJ Daniels has all the talent in the world to be the number one guy.
Yeah, so now that we're transitioning here, Quentin Reese is a guy another guy that will come and lower the boom. This is a guy that I really enjoy. He plays fast, he plays physical. I think he's a guy that has to be clicking for this defense to really step up and perform today.
Yeah, Quentin Reese is the real deal. I mean, this guy can play the pass, he can come down and play the run. This is probably the leader of the defense, him and Kenny Charles.
You think he takes the reins from Scruggs after he graduates? Is this the next guy that has to be like the vocal leader, the energizer on the back end?
Yeah, Scruggs, his nickname was the General. And so now it's Quentin Reese to go from a 3-star general to a 4-star general. Let's go with this thing.
All right, Elijah Smoot, UT Martin transfer. not many people know about him, to be honest, but the talk is through training camp, he's turned some heads and people believe he can be the real deal.
Yeah, he's shifty. He's shifty, and he does when I watch him in practice, he does an excellent job with his body control. Very Pat Kelly-like.
I like it.
So very, very Pat Kelly. Good body control, able to good timing on his jumps. You see it right there. This guy has the potential. Oh, one-hander. That looks a lot like Pat Kelly.
It does.
This guy's he's got quick out of his breaks. A little bit DeMario Douglas-like in a way, maybe not to that level, but very similar type of game.
Anytime I hear Pat Kelly and great body, it just kind of goes insane.
Well, no, to piggyback on what Joe is saying there a little bit, I think the thing that stands out about Smoot to me is his body control with the ball in the air.
Yeah.
You see several of those clips there, his ability to adjust. I think he's going to do a tremendous job. He also has the body type similar to a DeMario Douglas, so it's going to be interesting to see that as well.
Yeah, going to be a lot of fun to watch. Wide receiver core, one area for this Flames team to keep an eye on throughout the rest of the season. All right, hey, hope you're having fun. Still lots to come here on Flames Central Game Day. We're going to hear from Emily Austin and senior athletic college football writer Chris Vanini. Plus, we take a look at the stable of running backs for the Flames, and we also bring out our keys to the game.
Champions are not born. They're made of moments. At Liberty University, we push ourselves in the classroom, on the athletic field, and in the community to go beyond our limits and reach the world for Christ. Every play made, every assignment completed, and each friendship formed is a testament to our dedication to that mission. These moments matter and make us champions. Become a champion for Christ at Liberty University.
I have a voice. You have a voice.
We have a voice.
Our voices can be heard outside of sports.
As a student athlete, we have a platform.
Now more than ever.
It's important that we listen,
learn,
and lead.
And use our voices for change.
We can all do more. Now is the time to make a difference.
This is our chance to make a better tomorrow.
Together, we will continue the conversation.
We have a voice.
The Flames Central Podcast, powered by Alcova Mortgage, is your home for the best in Liberty Flames athletics. Fun, fast, and informative, Emily Austin, Matt Warner, and Joe Yock dive into the hot topics, analyze the action, and interview the key figures surrounding Liberty athletics. Find the podcast wherever you listen or watch on the Liberty Flames YouTube channel. Get your Flames fix every week with the Flames Central Podcast, powered by Alcova Mortgage.
Welcome back to Flames Central Game Day on the campus of Liberty University. Just over 30 minutes to kick off on the CBS Sports Network. So glad you're joining us here today. Obviously, a big move. The Flames going to Conference USA, a whole new conference to get accustomed to, learn the key players in, and find out so much more about what this next stage of life is like for Liberty football. We put Emily Austin,
Put Emily on the case,
on the job, and she got senior athletic writer to join her. Here's Emily in studio.
Thanks, guys. Not sure how I got the short end of the stick stuck in studio, but it does look like a beautiful day out there on the mountain. Let's go around the conference. It's a party in the CUSA, and Chris Vanini is invited. He's the national college football senior writer for The Athletic since 2017. He has some great content all over social media. Be sure you follow him at Chris Vanini. Chris, you have been a busy guy, so thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. August is a busy time for all of us in the college football media world because you got preseason, everything going on, and the conference realignment on top of that and playoff stuff. So finally glad that it's about football now.
But yes, football is back, so everyone's happy. Let's talk a little bit about the Conference USA preseason poll. 9 total teams in this conference, 4 newcomers, so there's a little bit of unknown. Do you think that this is an accurate ranking of how this conference is going to shake out?
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear Liberty, Western Kentucky at the top of the conference are the known commodities. You know, the two FCS teams moving up, Sam Houston and Jack State, you're not quite sure about, although Jack State obviously looked good in its first game. And then a lot of teams in the middle that could contend for a bowl game. So it's going to depend on how a handful of games go here and there. But I think it's a pretty good look at the conference.
When you look at all this change in the conference, is there a team that might be a sleeper that might surprise us at some point this season?
Louisiana Tech is the team that I'm really interested in this year. They've got a lot of talent on offense, especially a wide receiver. They added Hank Bachmeier, the former Boise State quarterback. So I think there's a lot they can do on offense. Their first game was a little strange. They put up a lot of yardage, but not a lot of points. Still got the win against FIU, but that's a team I would continue to keep an eye on going forward.
When you look at these Week 0 games, Jack State, like you just mentioned, its first FBS win. Welcome to the FBS. What can this do for this program moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, it's a team that was regularly in the top 20 in the FCS level for the last 10 to 15 years. They go 9-2, I think, last year, and they come back up to FBS, where they beat Ole Miss like a decade ago. They beat Florida State a few years ago. They have been on this stage before and done well. And you have your first game against UTEP last week. They win against a UTEP team I think a lot of people think will contend for a bowl game. So Jacksonville State, a team that came in with a lot of experience off of last year's team, brought a lot of guys back. Very good start in the first FBS game of the Rich Rod Rodriguez in his second season.
Big time interception by Jeremiah Harris to end that one. And then you have UMass taking down Diego Pavia and the New Mexico State. Tell me about this. Is UMass legit?
Look, I had UMass ranked dead last in the country out of 133 teams in my preseason rankings. And I had a lot of UMass fans mad at me for doing that. I mean, it's got to be somebody, and UMass didn't win an FBS game last year. But UMass looked pretty good. They've got a quarterback, a guy who transferred, former Clemson quarterback. They were able to move the ball against a New Mexico State team that I still think will be pretty good this year, a team that went to a bowl game last year and brought everybody back. So maybe this is a new year for UMass, the second year under the second stint for Don Brown as head coach. Maybe they will surprise people this year. I didn't expect that from UMass. They're definitely not going to be ranked dead last in the country when I do the next rankings.
All right, Chris, we'll let you go. But before we do, who's taking the conference crown?
Still going to go with Western Kentucky. Ooh. I think they've just got too much. They got too much firepower on offense. But the fact that everybody in this conference plays each other means that Western Kentucky Liberty game we get is probably going to be a preview of the conference championship game. And that'll be an interesting look. Western Kentucky this week, they've got USF, very interesting game. They've got Ohio State coming up soon. So they're going to be tested a bit before Conference USA play.
Such great insight. If you want to get more incredible college football coverage, be sure to follow him at Chris Vanini. That wraps us up here in the studio. Guys, we'll send it back out to you.
All right, hold your horses here before that last comment, but special thanks to Chris Vanini. Make sure you follow him at The Athletic. Great job covering Conference USA and college football in general. Okay, WKU, them fighting words for Flames Nation. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, they got a good football team. They got a real good quarterback. They got an experienced football team. A lot of guys coming back. Liberty is a little bit of an unknown. I think the Flames, by the end of the season, and the opportunity on this new staff to really gel together will end up winning the crown, but that Western Kentucky football team is going to be a tough one to win. Not only regular season, but also potentially in that conference championship.
Hey, I was a big wrestling fan growing up. Ric Flair used to say, to be the man, you have to beat the man.
That's right.
So in my opinion, I mean, Liberty can't enter the conversation until you knock off Western Kentucky. So you come in, knock them off. Also, one thing that I noticed, there were wrestling belts in the background
nice work
of the scene there. Yeah. So I wonder if he'd be willing to give that to Western Kentucky or Liberty, whoever wins.
Pat, give me your best woo.
Woo!
I love it.
That was weak. That game's a couple weeks down the road. Let's get back to today with our Carl Miller Realty Field Pass. Woo! And we look at what? Okay, this is projections from us. Okay, we are predicting that Connor Bazelak is going to be the starting quarterback today, a transfer from Indiana. But in 2020, this guy was SEC Co-Freshman of the Year.
I mean, you see it right there. 7,370 career passing yards. So this guy can sling it around the barn. Okay, so I really believe that if they can run the football just a little bit, win, like Pat said, for Liberty, win on first down, they're going to take some deep shots on that Liberty secondary.
I agree with that, and he had success at Missouri and Indiana when those teams were able to run the football. Last year they weren't able to run as well. He threw 10 interceptions as a result, so I think it's a guy that can lean on the run game, and that's going to open things up for him.
And then for the Flames, we take a look. Caden Salter, we project to be the starter today. Obviously, last year in the quarterback position was crazy, right? You saw so many numbers under center. This year, you know, when you look at Caden, is he going to be the guy all year long? Is there going to be a shuffle, do you believe? And truthfully, does he have what it takes?
Yeah, I mean, look at where we were last year. Last year was musical quarterbacks, and so what has changed? It's like you got a new staff, you got guys competing for the position. Is it going to be Caden Salter? Is it going to be Jonathan Bennett? If it is one of those guys and they do struggle a little bit, do you stick with them through the? But if they decide to go with Caden Salter, that is a long-term program play because you're going to have to let him take his lumps. He's going to make some mistakes. Things are going to happen, but you're going to try to play it over the long game with him, and he has all the tools and all the athleticism in the world to run this offense very well. He's just going to take some time to get it going potentially. And how long a rope do you give him is the million-dollar question.
Yeah, you know, we talked earlier about how good Willie Korn is from the offensive perspective and coaching a three-time Sun Belt Player of the Year. It's going to be on Willie Korn to help develop him as a quarterback, put him in good situations in terms of play calling and things like that. You know, this is a Liberty team over the last 2 years that was sacked almost 100 times. So not ideal for your quarterback.
That's a lot of sacks.
It's a whole lot of sacks. And it's a team that turned the ball over 15 interceptions last year. Well, at Coastal last season, they threw 6.
Yeah.
So it's a team that they're going to be stressing taking care of the ball, prioritizing. I mean, that's gold. The ball it's your treasure. So I think they can certainly coach some of those things out of him.
I think, you know, when I look at Caden Salter, there's no denying the talent, right? Like, he's got the arm ability. He can run. He's not the same kind of quarterback that Malik Willis was in terms of his strength and ability to shed tackles, but he can get downfield for you. But can he process the game the way that Jamie Chadwell is going to expect him to?
Well, I mean, when you talk to Willie Korn, I had the opportunity to talk to Willie Korn and say, how much do you give him right now? Okay, so if you can simplify it for him, because it is a brand new offense, and Caden Salter's a smart young man, but at the same time, there's a lot to handle in this offense. So I think what they're going to do is they're going to limit what they're going to give him early, and then, you know, the X factor is this: when it all breaks down, when it goes, a great athlete can make a good coach look great himself, right? So if it all breaks down, he has the legs to be able to escape outside the pocket, to be able to extend plays, make plays downfield, whether that's running or throwing. So it will take time. Don't give him too much, and make sure that his decision making is very good.
Yeah, Joe, to piggyback off that, I think the benefit that Salter has is they don't start with two terribly difficult games, in my opinion. They're not starting with Alabama. They're starting with Bowling Green, and then next week they play, I think New Mexico State. So you don't have to introduce the full playbook. You can do it bite by bite, let him get comfortable with things in game situations, and then develop, of course, over the course of those games, and then practice leading up to that third week.
I think it's fair to say still some questions at quarterback, definitely some questions with the running backs, and that's where we bring in our Oasis matchup spotlight today. Running backs, completely new set basically for this Liberty team. We start off with Quentin Cooley.
Yeah, Quentin Cooley, the Wake Forest transfer, is, you know, when you talk about the bowling ball, I like to call him Pins Cooley, right? Because he's knocking over the bowling ball, he's knocking over the defenders. So Cooley is a really good player, transfer from Wake Forest, and you know, right now you would say, is he the #1 guy? Potentially, but there is a stable of backs here that are all really good.
Yeah, one thing I find interesting, taking a look at Von Blue coming up next. He's the first running back prospect that they've signed from high school in several years now. So Coach Chadwell has really talked him up in terms of his physical maturity, being ready for the game, and his mental maturity, being able to step up. Really, he really alluded to a lot being able to step up in the blocking game as well.
That's my boy Blue.
That's right. Liberty coaching staff saying, hey, there's going to be a B back and an A back. B back's going to be more the dive back, north-south guy. A back, slot guy, can move around, pitch to him. They said Von Blue has the capability of doing both.
Yeah, no, he does. And the thing also with Von Blue is his explosiveness to break off long runs. And so that's what if you can attack. I think this game's going to be, they're going to try, Bowling Green is going to try to force this game into a horizontal game to be able to try to attack the edge. So I think that's where it's going to go. And Von Blue's the kind of guy that can extend outside of the defense and break off some of those long runs.
All right, you guys skipped over a guy I'm excited about in James Joyner. Like, he's a big fella, good size. You know, this is a guy that was getting recruited to some pretty big name schools. We can't forget about him.
Yeah, no, James is a very good football player. Like I said, he got recruited big time. And once again, two things you have to be able to do. You cannot force them. A defense is going to try to force you to go horizontally. You've got to be able to run up the middle, and he has the size between him and Cooley to be able to run the ball up the middle, and that will help open up those edges.
The other guy, Malik Caper, he's the ramrod of this group. You look at the weight on him, 235 pounds. He's just, again, another piece of meat that's just going to smack it in there.
Yeah, he's a guy also that he's dealt with some injuries. I'm not sure what his status is along those lines. But, you mentioned this stable of backs. There are other guys that aren't listed here that I think certainly have a chance to be productive. And it's going to be really fun to see 3, 4, 5 guys get out there on the field.
Oh, I see a sparkle in Joe's eye.
Don't you sleep on. He wasn't mentioned, but I'm telling you right now, from Newland Isaac, running back coach, don't you sleep on Billy Cool Hand Lucas.
Okay.
That guy can play, and you expect him to see him to get some carries today.
Scat back, power back, what are we looking at?
More of a scat back,
okay.
But he can break him off too. Him and Von Blue are dangerous.
All right, it's going to be a lot of fun. Hey, later on today, we're going to have the Game Day post-game show. Send in your questions and comments there on the side. We're going to take some of them more about season-long ideas, not so much game-specific. But if you want your questions answered, take a look. We might be able to get to them in the post-game show here today. It'll be a lot of fun. Again, just type in the comments. We've got somebody looking for those right now. All right, well, hey, every sack is a sack to give back this season. Food Lion Feeds will donate 1,000 meals to a neighbor in need for each Liberty sack this season. And last year, 45 sacks for LU, 329 yards lost. This is a defensive line that's hungry and truthfully likes to feed people. They get in on the quarterback and get it done. All right, we still got more to come here. We're going to take a look at our keys to the game and also our Freedom First Inside the Numbers. You're watching Flames Central Game Day. More to come in just a few moments.
Coming back the other way. Touchdown, Bulldogs. He's free. Bye-bye. Off to the races. 94 yards and a cloud of dust. And he'll go up top. Caught! It's Chisholm for the second time today. Wow! A bomb to Chisholm. Nothing better than game day on the mountain. Beautiful day here on Candler's Mountain. About 15 minutes to kick off, again on the CBS Sports Network. We're so glad you've joined us once again here. And Liberty Flames Bowling Green coming up here, top of the hour. Let's take a look at our keys to the game. Pat, we're going to start with you. When you look at this Bowling Green team, what is needed to be successful today?
Red, I think key number one is they've got to be dynamic on special teams. This is a team last year that finished 5th overall in overall special teams unit. They've got a guy in Payshawn Wimberly who blocked 3 punts last year, 2 of which were returned for touchdowns. He was the 2022 Special Teams Player of the Year. He's got to really step up. Other than that, Teron Keith, he's a guy that I think could be really explosive in the kick return game. Averaged 27 yards per kick return last year. Making plays on both of those sides of the unit, I think, is going to be important.
This is a team, too, really quick, too. I want to jump in on that as well. They got a couple, like, block punts. They did it against UCLA early stage of the season. They also did it against the Aggies. This is a team that gets in on special teams. They got some real playmakers there.
Yeah, they really do. And looking back at some of their film from last year, it's a unit that you're kind of like, there's a lot of speed coming off the edge here. Speaking of speed, we've got here Teron Keith. This is that 75-yard kick return for touchdown against New Mexico State when they were down 17-0. But this is a guy that, again, he's got some wheels. He can take it to the house. You're going to see, I think you're going to see him in the kick return game today doing some pretty explosive things. And we mentioned just a moment ago, Payshawn Wimberly, as it comes to punt blocks. Right on cue there. Boom. Block the punt. Recover forward. It looks like that one was a safety, but he had 2 touchdowns last year in the punt block game. So I think it's certainly a unit that needs to carry them, needs to step up, especially if you're a little bit of an underdog on the road. Second of which, keys to victory, I'd say they got to establish the run. Yeah. We talked about this a little bit earlier. They only averaged 3 yards per carry last year. That's not going to get it done. No. Only averaged about 100 rushing yards per game. It really makes you pass dependent, and you don't want to be in that situation. And then lastly, on the defensive side, we talked about this vaunted Jamie Chadwell offense, the triple option. You've got to be disciplined on defense. You have to read your keys. You've got to be in position. They're going to try and put guys in conflict. They're going to try and make guys hesitate and pause. So this defense, the defensive ends, the read men, the linebackers, they've got to be in the right spot. They've got to commit to the right player.
All right, Joe, for Liberty.
Yeah, I think the main thing for Liberty is I think Bowling Green's going to make it. They're going to come out in 12 personnel, 1 running back, 2 tight ends. I think they're going to try to run the football, so they're going to have to come out. They're a little bit bigger up front. Liberty's a little bit lighter on the defense in the front 7, so I think they're going to really try to establish the run. So for Liberty, they need to stop the run early. Win on first down, stop the run early. I think the second biggest thing and most important thing for Liberty is going to be great decision-making by their quarterback. If that's Caden Salter, that he's going to have to run the offense properly and not turn over the football. Don't panic. Just run the offense, do what you're coached to do, and play it that way. You don't have to make superhero plays. Just do what you're supposed to do. And then the last thing I think, and a big guy we haven't really talked about much, is Noah Frith. Noah Frith is a big receiver that they're going to take shots with in the red zone. I think you're going to see Liberty throw the football up to him in the red zone, either work in the back of the end zone on high balls, but I think if Noah Frith can win in the red zone, then Liberty's going to have a good shot to score a lot of points.
Yeah, Noah Frith, the guy last year, stayed healthy. That was huge. Yeah. 444 yards, more than twice his previous 2 seasons. Surprising thing to me was only 1 touchdown, and that was the game against Arkansas, but still, he was a productive wide receiver for the Flames.
Yeah, he really was. I mean, this is a guy on his career that's over 1,100 yards. Joe was mentioning he's a real red zone threat. I think he gets off the press well. You need to be able to use your hands, get off the press. If they go in man-to-man matchups today, they are absolutely throwing this ball up to Frith.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who really comes out as a #1 receiver for Liberty. Will it be C.J. Daniels? Will it be Elijah Smoot? Or will it be Noah Frith? So they've got some weapons there. They're just not completely proven yet.
All right, Pat, you said Bowling Green, they need to get the run game going. Let's expand upon that a little more with our Freedom First Inside the Numbers segment. When you look at the running game details from a year ago, it was just awful. Like, it really was. Under 10 touchdowns, you're only averaging about 3 yards per carry. It was abysmal.
Yeah, it makes it tough. And we talked earlier about getting ahead of the chains on first down. Opens up your entire playbook. Well, what happens when you can't run the ball is you're in 2nd and 8, 3rd and 8. Those long situations really narrows things down, which really helps the defensive coordinator because it's, hey, we can pin our ears back. The whole playbook on the defensive side opens up. They've got to establish the run again because they do have weapons on the outside, but those weapons are only going to be as effective as the run game is.
Yeah, I really think that when you talk to Skylar McGee and Kyle Krantz on the defensive side of the football for Liberty is that if they can win on first down, like you said, it opens up the defensive playbook, and they're really going to be able to mix it up well on them, where they're going to bring their blitz packages, where they're going to back off into coverage and give the quarterback a lot of different looks.
When you say you want to establish the run game, and I know everybody thinks about the running back, but really you're calling out the offensive line.
That's right. That's right. And the tight ends. I think, once again, you're going to see a lot of 12 personnel with 2 tight ends where they're going to try to come right at and play smash mouth. You have to look at this from Bowling Green's perspective, okay? We've been talking about how abysmal they are in the run. They know they can't be a really good football team unless they can run the football. right? And so they are going to come out in game 1, week 1 and say, okay, guys, if we want to get good, if we want to become a great football team, we got to hit these guys in the mouth. So I think we're definitely going to see them put everything they can early into establishing the run.
Yeah, I would say 100 marks the spot for Bowling Green. 4-1 last year when they hit the century mark. Yep. When it came to yards on the ground, that'll be big. Also turnovers. If they got 3 turnovers or more in a game, they were perfect on the season. So a couple big numbers for them. Well, hey, glad you've joined us today. It has been great. It's been rolling, Joe. I know you've been hyped up.
I'm hyped up, man. There's nothing like the smell of fresh cut field turf in fall, right? You just can't beat college football. It's time to get it on.
Joe, I'm going to put you on the spot. You're good at this, just, off the cuff. What, give me your best, Jamie Chadwell's in there speaking to the guys right now. They're about to come down the tunnel. What's he saying to the fellas?
Yeah, I think right now he's saying, guys, here's the deal, right? We've prepared you. You're prepared. Now what it comes down to is you can't get caught up in winning. You can't get caught up in losing. You got to get caught up in competing. Right? You got to come out and you got to get fired up to compete. Don't worry about the result. Worry about doing your job, whatever your specific job is. If that one guy does his job, the other 10 guys do their job, it'll all come together as one. Now let's go out there and whip some tail.
Let's go. Bottle it up and sell it. All right, 12 p.m. CBS Sports Network, Flames and Falcons going on. We'll be back here post-game show. Make sure you tune in. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. It's going to be a great one. Opening week, Flames and Falcons coming up next.